it's like 2.6, I would know that okay, it's the old version, and definitely there would be a vulnerability, and I could quickly kind of, as an attacker, I could quickly exploit that and get hold of the Columbia.edu website. Okay, so that's the reason why these websites are actually hiding their own version number. Similarly, the Google is hiding its own what its version number is. Okay, so this is one of the field which is very important as an attacker for us. So if we are not a SOC professional, but if we are a person of red team, for example, or a attacker, what we can do is that we can utilize this value to understand more about like what specific exploit we should send out to the web server to get hold of that, get control of that web server. Okay. Now the other thing is that, as I told, this field can be controlled by the user who is managing that server. So maybe, for an example, that server was that web server was, let's say, was GWS, for an example, Google Web Server. But the user can trick us, and they can say that it is Apache. Okay. So what they can do is that they have also not said the version number, and what they have also done is that they have, if I'm an attacker, I would think that okay, it's an Apache web server, but in reality, that there's a different server that web server is running. Maybe it is GWS. Okay, and I would kind of exploit that server from a different exploit. Like I will be utilizing the Apache web server exploit package to kind of get hold of the server, but all those things will get failed because the field that was set up by the user who manages that website has been kind of set up as wrong, just to kind of mislead the attacker. Okay, so this all thing can also happen when we are kind of what you say, dealing with this server header. Okay, so I hope this server header is kind of quite clear now. Are there any kind of questions about this header, guys? Okay, so if not, let me just quickly see. Let me just go to one more website and let's see what the server header is all about for that one. Okay. So the other thing, if you see over here, if you see the referrer is google.com. So that means because I searched for that, I went to this Columbia from the Google website. So that's the reason the referrer is over here is google.com. So now we have another URL that I have visited, which was health.webcetos.com. And if we look at the server header, so let me see if it has a server header, first of all. So this one, if you see, it doesn't have a server header. Okay. And if I go to the other fields, so the thing is again that header is actually upon the intention of the user who is managing that website. So even they can kind of remove that header completely, or they can kind of they can fill that with incorrect info, or maybe with the correct info with the browser, with the version number and all. Okay, so that's all about the server header. I hope there is no concern about this header. And now what I will do is that I will kind of quickly go to the next header that we were discussing, is the date header. Okay, so now let's see if that date is somewhere captured by that website. So now if you see that there are like date that has been captured over here. Okay, so this tells me that this data, so if we are analyzing any response header, so let's say we have a proxy log and we have this response header logged over there. So from there we can quickly know that okay, what was the time when this data was received via the user. So over here, just from the date field, I can know that this was sent out to me on 14th June 2023 at 5:23 GMT. Okay, so so this is all about kind of like what kind of so this is how you can utilize this field to kind of understand when that data was sent out. So let's suppose you have a huge amount of logging. So let's say you have proxy log, and it records the HTTP response headers. Okay, HTTP response header, and let's suppose that those log files are not sorted by time. So in that case, what you can do is that you can utilize the date header. That is there, that will be there in 99% of the case in the HTTP response. And you can utilize that date header to sort the proxy log. Okay. So this is again like one of the way by which this date header can be useful to you guys. So in a basic way, the date header is all about like it tells us the date and time when that message originated from the web server side. Okay. So this is all about a date header. And guys, as I told, feel free to kind of interrupt me whenever you have any questions or any kind of concern. Okay. Now the next thing is the content type. Okay. So the next header that we will be kind of looking at is the content type. And what is content type? It's nothing but the type of file that will be returned from the server. Okay. So it is type of file that will be returned by the server, and it is one of the most useful header to kind of look at. Okay. And why? I will kind of quickly discuss that. Okay. So let me see over here. So if you see the content type, okay. So it's text /HTML file. Okay. So this tells me that the content of this header is actually HTML file. So if we scroll down, we see that the data is actually in the HTML format. So because we are visiting the website of this URL, so this content will actually tell me what the type of the data that this web server is kind of returning to me. Okay. And now how this can be useful? Let's say, so one of the things is that, let's say, you are downloading any binary file, for an example. So in that case, the header will not be HTML. Okay. It might be something else. It might be something like, let's say binary format or something like that. Maybe we can see that what the content type will be. But the content type in that case, let's say there is a malware which is actually, let me just go to this figure quickly. And let's say this is the malware that is actually trying to communicate with the C2 URL, which is autoserver2bunny.com. And once that connection has been set up, and once this data is received by the malware writer web server, the malware writer web server might return, let's say, some additional malware file. Okay. So in that case, the header will not be content type text HTML in most of the scenario. It would be like maybe, let's say, the binary format. So what we can do is that, let me just quickly search for that content type header values. Okay. So let me just quickly see what would be for web server. Okay. Let me just, so this is one of the really good documentation, which is developer.mozilla.org, where you can kind of get a lot of details about each specific headers. Okay. So the content type is over here. If you see, syntax is something like this. It can be like text.html, and it can also be multi-part form data. Let me just quickly see. Okay. So if you see, the content type is kind of changing over here. It is not text.html. And so each of this field has a different meaning. So if the web server is kind of, let's say, returning a plain text file rather than a HTML code, what it will do is that the web server will set that as text/plain. So it will tell the web browser or anyone or the website and what kind of data it is about to receive, or what kind of data the web server has sent it to us. So if it is text/plain, my web browser will quickly know that the data returned is a textual format data. It is not something like HTML format, and it might take any additional action based on what kind of data is being transferred via the web server. So let's say the data that we receive by the web server is text/plain. So in that case, maybe the Firefox browser, rather than displaying the data, it will actually download that file and save that in my downloads folder. Okay. So those are the additional action that the web browser might automatically take based on what kind of content type is returned by that web browser. Okay. So this is another one of the good things. And what you can do is that one of the benefits that can kind of help us for this header is that let's say you are doing any investigation and you want it, and you have let's say 40,000, or let's say 4 lakhs 400